Welcome to the Same Day Podcast, where we discuss driving incremental business growth and other topics related to real estate, property management, and entrepreneurship. Now, to the show at hand.
Matt Zalk here. I'm the host of the Same Day Podcast, where I connect with top business and business experts and real estate leaders. A couple of past guests that are worth checking out are Devin Howland talking about economic development in Fayetteville, Jonathan Schmidt of the Keyrenter team talking about property owners frequently asked questions, and Kevin Evans of Liberty Air Services talking about HVAC systems, how they work, and why they're so darn complicated. Today's episode is brought to you by Chris Lyle State Farm. Chris Lyle State Farm helps you protect your most precious assets and investments. Whether it's your home and auto, investment rental properties, or other valuables, call Chris Lyle State Farm for a quick and painless phone call to potentially save double digits on all of your insurance needs. Visit diallyle.com or call his office at 918-878-7771. Today's episode is also brought to you by Keyrenter Property Management. At Keyrenter Property Management, we are a full-service property management company helping our clients buy, renovate, and operate real estate assets. We help our clients build wealth while taking the headache out of property management. Rob, you know better than most that it's hard to get make-ready teams lined up so you can do your make-readies in a quick turn. Contractors are busy. The work seems to drag on forever, and all that leads to lost rental income. But at Keyrenter, we line up our dedicated vendors like Classic Cleaning so that turns can happen super quickly, and we get more money back into the pockets of our owners, including top-notch cleaning. That's why no matter what rental you have, single-family homes, condos, townhomes, apartments, we have the management solutions that you need. Go to keyrenterpmc.com or email us at info@keyrenterpmc.com. Want to give a huge shout-out to Chase Chapman of Blue Dog Carpet Cleaning, I should say, who does a ton of our carpet cleaning work. Great job, very professional, wonderful businessman, and a good friend. He introduced Rob and I. Actually, we'd been working for quite a while together, but I was unaware of it. So when I asked for a recommendation for my personal residence, Chase put me in touch with Rob, and I was like, oh, wow, we've been working together. But so a huge thank you to Chase Chapman, who I know through business owner networking group Bong of Tulsa and also through BNI. But for today's guest, Rob Boyd's been in the cleaning industry for 20 years, from director of operations for the world's largest cleaning franchise to overseeing cleaning at University of Tulsa and 4 major health clubs. Rob decided to buy a small cleaning company, which is Classic Cleaning, in 2019. You'll hear the story. You'll hear all about that story today. Rob Boyd, welcome to the show. Thank you for being on.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Classic Cleaning is a company that you bought a couple of years ago, but I want to go back to the beginning. How did you get started in cleaning services?
Well, probably 20 years ago, I actually worked at a call center, and a guy had left the call center. I was a supervisor at a call center, and the guy had left and got involved with King. And he became a salesman and worked his way up, and he was taking on I think they called it regional director position. But he's like, as a salesman in a year and a half, I've seen him go through 3 regional directors. So if I'm going to take it, I need to put some strong people in play. And he reached out to me and said, listen, I need somebody with a business acumen that doesn't have such an ego that they can't work with janitors. And so I talked to him about it, and I thought, that's kind of interesting and better than being stuck in a cubicle all day. So I spent about a year with them learning the business, went out to Texas to King's corporate office, and just learned the ins and outs of it. Learned strip and wax and the 4 side-by-side machines.
Nice.
Almost blew my pecs out the first time because I was like, how are these little people doing this? And didn't realize there's an actual science to it. I finally figured that out. And then just it kept going. It went from one leadership role to another, transitioned over to the University of Tulsa, and ran the overnight crew there. Had about 58 people out there, and have always liked exercise and fitness, probably because I was always like a little tiny guy, so I wanted it to look big or whatever. And the opportunity to be operations manager for a health club in town came up, and they brought me on right before they were starting to expand and get other clubs. And so I was brought on kind of to find out, okay, what's working, what's not working, how do we make it work, and then how do we start duplicating it? And they had the vision that in 5 years they were going to have 4 more clubs, so they were going to have 5 clubs. Little did they know that a much larger national brand was going to come in and open a club a mile and a half away, and so that kind of stymied them a little bit. And then, ironically, after a total of 6 years with them, I ended up for that other company that moved in, well, which was Lifetime, and ended up the operations manager over there. So I oversaw cleaning for 20 something years now. Um, and then probably about September or October of 2019, I heard a department head of another department at Lifetime talking about, man, I'm trying to sell my cleaning company, but nobody can afford it. And I was like, what? You have a cleaning company? I was like, how did you do that? And it turned out it was part of a class project for his business degree. He had to
Wow.
start and create a company, and so he built this cleaning company. And he said he got it up to $100,000 a year, but then he got married, had kids, fostered special needs kids, and so his time was just like really tied up. And I said, well, how much are you trying to sell it for? And I had just bought a new house, and it was like right in line with what I had paid for brand new furniture for my living room. And I was like, well, the living room furniture is not going to make me any money, but maybe this business can. And I just thought it would be a side hustle. I've always had like a side,
Sure.
something I like. I'm a firm believer. If you've got multiple checks going out, get multiple checks coming in.
Sure.
So, I saw this as an opportunity. And so, as I shared with you during our last meeting, I very, very cleverly bought a commercial cleaning company 4 months before COVID shut the commercial world down. So that was interesting.
Was this guy happy to be out of the business? Did he hand it over to you in one day? Was it like, boom, here's my check, and I'm out? Or did he transition over and help you with any of the administrative side, any of the books, anything?
Not a thing. I mean, I'd looked at his books before.
Did he hand over? Did he say to the key relationships any that he had? Like, this is Rob, and he's bought my business, and so he did some of that stuff.
But it was so he dwindled it down to such a minuscule amount. I mean, it was billing 14,300 a year. I mean, it was down to like nothing, and so it was a real easy handoff. And there was a little bit of equipment and whatever, but basically it was just putting up a sales agreement, getting my attorneys to look at it, make sure everything was there, and then just kind of transitioning ownership of the name, and anything that was involved with it, the logos and all, because I really liked the logo that was with it. And then I probably threw somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000. I probably should know the exact amount, but somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 into trying to design a website,
Sure.
T-shirts, business cards, flyers, just all of this stuff, because I was, paid for my first year of insurance up front, because I had great money at the time, but there was some challenging times there. Wife lost her job right before COVID came in. They transitioned to another country, and then I bought the cleaning company, and then COVID came in, and so there's been some opportunities for learning how to zig and zag or dodge and weave when the punches come.
What was the main difference that you found between kind of operating cleaning within somebody else's business and operating your own business entirely?
It was a weird transition in that I was pretty sure that I knew everything. I mean, I was pretty confident because I'm 55. I started managing when I was 19 years old. Most of my life has been in leadership roles, and I've managed from 5 people to 325 people. And so I kind of felt like I knew everything.
Sure.
What I didn't realize is that when it's all on you, there's not a corporation that's given you a playbook to follow. They've given you, this is how you hire people. This is what you're supposed to say during the interviews. Here's I didn't have to go eat customers. I didn't have to do any of that stuff. I mean, it was just everything was prepackaged for me. I just had to lead a team. Then when you end up with a team, I knew how to lead a team. What I wasn't prepared for is losing a team because I had no work to give them because of COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so you inherited a team when you bought the business. Is that right?
I inherited
and you lost it because there was no work.
I had no work for them, and it's like, everybody was like shutting down their offices. People were moving to, they were shutting down and going to Houston to, whatever the corporate office was. They were working from home. And, so I go from, $400 or $500 a month contracts to, hey, nobody's going to be there. What would you charge me to come check the toilets once a month? So, I mean, it just took a dramatic dive in income coming in.
And so at that point, you pivoted and went from commercial to residential cleaning, or did it take a while to kind of figure that out?
Well, it took a little bit. It honestly, it took burning through all my money. It's intriguing how desperation creates innovation. And I literally just one day I'm looking at bank accounts, and I'm looking at everything's going on. It all came on to me. Wife had lost her job, and then her mother had to move in with us. She'd had strokes and all that stuff. So my wife's still, almost 4 years later, is a full-time caregiver to her mother. And so it was all on me. And I was just, I'm a man of faith. And so I was like, okay, God, I don't know what I'm going to do. And my phone rang, and someone said, hey, by any chance, do you clean rental properties? And I was like, yes,
I do now.
Yes, we do. And they're like, well, what would you charge to clean my rental property? And I was like, well, what's the square footage? And they said 1,200 square feet. Now, mind you, I knew how to bid commercial cleaning, but this was a whole new beast, and all of a sudden just presented itself to me. So I said, well, I'm not in my office right now, because I think I was in the kitchen at the time. I said, I'm not in my office. Let me get back to my office, and I'll give you a call back and give you a quote. So I hung up the phone, and I started Googling cleaning companies. And I called 12 cleaning companies, and I said, hey, listen, if I were to buy a 1,200 square foot rental property, but I didn't want to clean it myself, what would you charge? I was surprised at the range of pricing. But I took the 12 and I said, okay, listen, I know the tenacity, I know the eye for detail, and I know the passion that I'm going to bring to this. I know that if this is the bottom and this is the top, I'm worth at least somewhere between the middle and the top. Because I have been in the cleaning for 20 years. This may be a new aspect of it, but I know my eye for detail and what have you. So I kind of priced myself in the middle, called the person back and said, I can do it for this amount. And she said, by any chance, I know it's short notice, by any chance, can you do it tomorrow? I was like, well, let me check my schedule.
Insert pause here.
I was like, yes, I can.
I have an opening.
In fact, I'm going to come do it myself. See, at this point, the big club that I was working for had started cutting salaries, and I was the second highest pay guy in the building. So I had no job. All I had was a cleaning company and an empty calendar. And empty calendars typically mean empty bank accounts. So, I was like, well, yes, and I'll come do it myself. And I did it, and I actually oddly enjoyed it. I actually had a good time. I came home and told my wife. She said, how'd that go? And I go, that wasn't bad. I said, I didn't have to talk to anybody. I listened to podcasts. I went at my own pace, and I walked away with a sense of accomplishment of I saw what it looked like when I went in, and I saw what it looked like when I came out. And I was like, heck yeah, I can do this. Now, the idea was I want to teach other people to do this. And so we've gone through, we've had as many as 8 people on the team, and it's gone up and down, and people come in and they don't do a great job, or they, said, hey, Rob, I was going to school for such and such, and now I've graduated, I'm going on for my career. And, and I get that. So that's one of the most challenging parts of, having your own business, is that sometimes it's, hey, I own a company. And then sometimes it's, hey, I own a job, and being willing to not let your ego get in the way with that.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, a big portion of entrepreneurship is just getting everything done because the buck stops with you. And I've certainly been, absolutely. I've held every job in the company that we operate. And I've certainly, swept floors and gotten on my hands and knees and done all sorts of other stuff. But it's easier to do that oftentimes than it is to relinquish control to somebody else, especially if you don't know whether that person has the gumption and the wherewithal to get it all done. I mean, there's nothing like the owner to take absolute control and ownership of that project, whereas the person that you're paying a salary to doesn't quite care as much, and that can be really painful when you realize that, and you have to let that go. You have to delegate, or you have to entrust somebody else with that responsibility. It can be really painful as a business owner.
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge, is that no matter how well I pay people, they're not as invested in it as I am.
Right.
And to get somebody to see the reason why we do what we do, um, it's kind of cheesy, but my wife, in the beginning, she had cleaned with me some too, and she's like, why do you get so like excited and so passionate about this? And this is my general philosophy when I go into a property, and I don't care if you and I before this were talking about the 6,900 square foot house that I just did. I've done 800 square feet houses, and I've done 8,000 square feet houses. But I take the same passion with all of them, because I don't know the story of the person coming into that house.
Sure.
It could be a single mom who is now providing safety and sanctuary to her children from something that was bad, or it could be a couple coming in, and it might be an 1,100 square foot house with one bathroom and three bedrooms that you can barely fit a bed in, but they're walking in and one saying to the other, "Look, babe, look what I've done for us.
Mm-hmm.
Look where we've come," you know? And I want the last thing for them to worry about, to take away from that moment of excitement, to come in and go, "Oh heck, I'm gonna have to clean the place."
Yeah.
So I
That's
approach
disheartening.
I approach every single one as in, I'm helping someone start a new chapter in their life as headache free as possible. They already had to deal with the moves. Moves suck, but not the clean. You don't have to worry about the clean. Our
So,
slogan is, when you need to clean like your mama's coming. So I take it very seriously, right?
yeah, and I appreciate that. And I think, in fact, like, Keyrenter's been using classic cleaning for a long time, and the fact that I had not heard about you for a while was a really, really good sign, because generally speaking, the problems rise to my desk, and if there's no problem, I don't hear about it. So I was like, Rob, what's going on? You say, well, I've been working with Keyrenter for a long time. I'm like, wow, that's great. That's really a positive sign. Let me ask you this. Let's talk a little bit about pricing, how you how you do pricing. You're welcome to tell us real numbers. You're welcome to not just go generic, hypothetical. But what's the logic of pricing based on square footage as opposed to number of rooms and number of baths?
Um, Honestly, it just seemed to have been like what I was coming across. It seemed to have been the industry standard, because my ultimate goal is what I like to do for people. And I've been paying hourly, but what I have found most effective for me is if I can take what the square footage is, and I price it out, and I say, okay, this job is worth this amount of money. And for the person that I'm sending that location, I'm giving them a certain, and I'm not going to reveal the percentages, but I give them a percentage of that,
Mm-hmm.
which means they legitimately have the possibility to make, if they go in and they don't screw around, they've got the ability to make $35 an hour
Mm-hmm.
if they go in, based on how I've priced it and how long I know it would take me.
And you're using
I
your chemicals, or they're using your chemicals?
they're using mine. I provide everything.
Yep.
So, but I say this is what this job is worth, because this is what I've noticed. I just, unfortunately, it's one of those things you don't know until you know. I just discovered I had a guy that, he was great. I love him. I will not speak ill of him. That being said, I found out he wasn't as good as I thought he was.
Mm.
And I had clients where he would call me and he'd say, I commercial clients would say, well, such and such wasn't done. I'm like, okay, hey, dude, what's going on? And he's like, man, it's just, it takes so long because they're so messy. This happened to be a hair salon. And they're like, it's so messy and I just can't get it done in this amount of time. And, we originally, it was like 2 hours. I was like, I think this can be done in 2 hours. And then I got it up to where it was like 3.5 hours. I was given permission, make sure that it's done. Make sure that it's
Mm-hmm.
done, and I'll pay you for this. And I was paying ridiculously well. He moved on, took a career. I, for a period of time, took over that, and I would go in and I'd knock it out in 2 hours
Hmm.
and never get a complaint. And I was like, I think the dude was milking the clock
Hmm.
because it didn't take that long. It was not that hard. And even going in and having not come up with my own pattern and system of what's the most effective way, I got it done in like 2 hours and 15 minutes the first time I
Hmm.
walked in after him. So I like to pay by the job, especially on things for like Keyrenter, because this incentivizes them go in and get it done as quickly as possible. They're not milking the deal. I know they're not taking a lunch or having friends come over and hang out. They want to be in and out because time is money, and it incentivizes them to get it done quickly. That being said, on the flip side of it, if there's a complaint though, they get to go fix it at no additional charge to me.
Yeah.
So get it done right the first time. But if you can maximize your time, I go through a whole training thing with them. I show them tips and tricks on here's what I've learned. Here's the most effective way to go in and hit this and this and this. Um, and there's certain chemicals. Go in, let the chemical do the work while you're doing something else, and then you come back, and the job is that much easier. But as far as pricing, I did my research. I just looked at what seems to be the industry standard. I've got some people that will underprice me, and hey, God love you. And then I've got some people that are telling me I don't even charge enough. They charge almost twice what I do. And I'm like, hey, God love you too. Where I'm at is comfortable. I stay busy. I can pay people well, and I can make a very comfortable living off of it.
So let me ask you, I think we need to get into the details of what is involved with the cleanings,
Okay.
baseboards and windows, and houses can be messier or less messy, but oftentimes we face pushback. Well, we face pushback from owners on all sorts of things, on maintenance costs, on make ready costs, on supplies, as if we do actually, I shouldn't say as if, we do have bargaining power with Home Depot because we're one of their larger clients, and at least in Tulsa, Oklahoma City. I mean, we spend millions of dollars a year. So we do get beneficial pricing, but vis-a-vis much larger companies that spend 10 and $20 million a year, we're not their best client. But we get pushback on supplies, as if we really have control over the cost of OSB or, a pre-hung door. When an owner says to us, why did that cleaning cost $275? And we say, look, really, whether it's classic cleaning or any other cleaner that we use, it's about the same price. That means to me that it's a pretty tried and true pricing model, and that you can go out to 3 or 4 vendors, get a bid, and if the price is relatively similar, it means that you're in a competitive space, and it means that you're at the price that you should be at. Because if somebody was doing half the price, was bidding half the price, or if somebody was bidding twice the price, you'd know that you are like that you're not comparing apples to apples, or that one person's paying $50 an hour to a cleaner and one paying 15 or whatever else. But it's kind of honest and true pricing. What goes into cleaning a house, and how do we explain to owners why the cost is, call it 1,500 square feet, $300, like why it costs that much to clean a house?
Well, for me, the easiest explanation is one, you're paying to have something done that you don't want to do. The convenience of not having to come in and do it. You're paying somebody that is their specialty. They understand what it is to look for, and you're paying for someone to remove what you don't want to know was left behind.
Yep.
Ironically, I got home. I was assisting with one. I got home like 15 minutes before this call, and the entire place was filled with roach feces and mouse feces. In fact, a mouse ran away from me when I walked in.
Mouse better be scared.
Right? Well, I may not be as big as you, but I'm bigger than a mouse. But the person that's moving in, they don't want to know. They don't want any idea
Right.
of what was there. Again, it goes back to what I was saying. The passion behind why I do it is I don't want them to worry about what it is that they're stepping into, what was left behind, or what they have to do now
Yep.
that they're there. It's a I, not to be funny, but it's a clean slate. It's literally a clean slate. They don't have to. They can come in. I can put my food in the refrigerator. I can put my stuff in the pantry. I can cook a meal if I want in a clean oven. I can sit down on a toilet and not wonder whose butt was on it before me.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
you're literally paying for a peace of mind. And honestly, not when I own the company, but when I was a kid, I never said, because nobody does, hey, when I grow up, I'm going to clean toilets. Nobody says that, right? But nobody wants to do that. And especially nobody wants to do it after somebody you don't even know. That's why paying a cleaner is valuable, because you're cleaning up the stuff you don't understand could have been left for you.
Yep. So tell me what's involved in doing it. You're doing fans, you're doing baseboards,
Yeah.
you're doing fridge, stove, all the appliances,
Well, I
vacuuming
can't
crap.
speak. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't speak for everybody, but for classic cleaning, what we do we come in and we literally hit top to bottom. So, your ceiling vents, your intake vents collect a lot of dust. If those can be dusted or wiped down, they are. Sometimes I discovered that people have just painted over the dust.
Yep.
I can't do anything about that. But we clean the vents because I want, and then, for like your company, I know you change the air filters. So not only are they coming into a clean house, they're coming into clean air. I don't know if somebody's got an asthmatic problem, and I don't want them walking in, and as soon as the AC kicks on, they're having an asthma attack
Yep.
because it wasn't clean. So we clean the vents, we clean the ceiling fans, we clean the insides of the windows, the window seals, the window ledges. We look for fingerprints. I can't make a wall look like it doesn't need to be painted if it does need to be painted, but we look for fingerprints around the light switches and the doors and the handles and all that, clear down to the baseboards. Baseboards are dusted, they're scrubbed if they need to be. Again, I can't make them not look like they or not need painted if they need painted, but we clean those. And then all the stuff in between, cabinets, inside of cabinets are wiped out, drawers are wiped and vacuumed. um, every sand, obviously your toilets, but everybody misses the rim up underneath the toilet. You look at a toilet and you go, oh, that's not that bad, and then you look up underneath and it's like, oh, geez, do they know what a toilet brush is? And at that point, at that point, it's so caked on that they're specialty things. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
that one that I did earlier today, they needed the bathrooms hit. Somebody else did them, and they were like, "These aren't good enough." There were water stains, calcium buildup stains that a regular scrub brush is not going to get off. But you look at the toilet, and technically, it could be clean if you're looking
Sure.
from like a bacterial standpoint, but it doesn't look clean because
But
there's water stains on it.
it's
So you got to,
optics.
yeah. So you got to knock all those out. It just the my slogan came from teaching guys for 20 years. Here's how you clean a shower, here's how you clean a toilet, whatever. Here's where people miss. Here's the best way to approach it. When you're done, would you have your mom sit on this toilet? Are you that confident about it? And that's where the slogan, because when I bought the company, they didn't have a slogan. But when you need to clean like your mama's coming, that's where it came from, is because we take that kind of pride in it. Because my name's on. I mean, I take a lot of pride in my name. That who's on that company? Who trained you? Who
Yeah.
I may not be the biggest, but by God, the plan is to be the best. When people think about getting make readies done or commercial cleaning done, especially for the smaller business owners, I like to target on the smaller guys.
I
Um,
mean, I just think it's hard to overstate the importance of coming into a clean house. A tenant comes in, they've not experienced that much of what Keyrenter is. If they come into a house that still has flies that are dead in the windowsill, God forbid, roach feces or anything else, their first experience is just a terrible one. And so to have them come into a house that's clean sets the trajectory off on the right footing. And then it's kind of like the broken window syndrome. If they walk in and everything is clean, great, they'll keep it clean. They're much more likely to keep it clean. If the proverbial story goes, you've got a broken window in an apartment complex and everybody starts dumping their trash and breaking other windows and it just falls to pieces. So there really is something special about, having a good vendor relationship from our side for the cleaning. And if they if the relationship starts off on a sour note, it's hard to build back up. Whereas if the relationship starts on a high note, because the place is clean and it looks really good and it looks just like the photos, then everything else kind of goes smoothly. And it's funny that tenants will attempt to withhold rent and be upset and be vindictive when little things like the toilet aren't cleaned properly, but it happens. And, we have a situation recently, all of Tulsa, as you know, all of Tulsa and lots of Texas and Oklahoma City got wiped out by this massive hurricane that came through, whatever it was, storm, tornado. It was really a kind of similar to a tornado, 100-mile-an-hour straight line winds took down all these trees. Half the city was out of electricity for upwards of a week. And we have a tenant that's telling us that we need to pay $1,500 for the generators and extension cords that he bought because we were negligent in getting him back power. We got him back power, I don't know, in 2 days or something. And then there was some melted wires inside his panel that we fixed. But it was like, we took everything, all necessary precautions, and got you back up and running as soon as possible. I'm sorry that you had, $1,500 of expenditure. I don't think he's quoting the Oklahoma Landlord Tenant Act and saying that we've been neglectful or negligent in what we've done. And I'm like, all signs point to us doing 100% of what we should have. So the next part of the Oklahoma Landlord Tenant statute that he points out says something like you can withhold rent if the person has been negligent or fails to comply or doesn't take care of stuff. I'm like, I just don't see where we did that. But the point is, tenants will, whether they're maliciously trying to take advantage or they feel they're entitled because you're the landlord and you left them without some critical resource or didn't clean the house, they'll get vindictive and feel like they're entitled to, free rent when something like that happens, including not having a house that they move into that's clean. So super important to just get it right on the front end. And we appreciate Classic Cleaning so much for helping us out with that.
Thank you. I know both, for whether it's a property management company like yourself or commercial clients, cleanliness is that thing that's like really important, but people don't really think about it. Like I come in and my company comes in and cleans for you, and it sets the tone between you and your client, as you were saying, of how much you think about them, and hopefully reciprocally how much they're going to think about you and treat back. If it's a commercial client and a potential customer comes in and they're waiting in the waiting room, looking around, and they see filth, they're like, well, they don't even take the little things seriously. How are they going to pay attention to what's important to me? I mean, they can't dust the blinds.
Yeah.
But I need them to manage my, $5 million portfolio. So I love the fact that I believe that cleaning, whether it's my company or any company, we really are one of those essential tools that, unfortunately, I don't want to say that it's human nature, but it is consumer nature that they never tell everybody how great everything is. But man, if something's not great, they'll tell everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. But we have similar problems with all sorts of vendors, and it goes behind the scenes. Owners don't realize that there's an issue until they realize there's an issue. And I'll give you a good example. I mean, we have plumbers on staff now, and we have really good 1099 relationships with plumbers. But there was a period of time when, there'd be a water leak at an exterior hose bib, tenants paying the water bill. They know that they're dripping $30 or $40 of water a month. And if we can't fix that problem, that might be 5 or 10% of their, maybe not 10%, but it might be 5% of their rent every month. And for that extra $50, they're hurting for money. And they may leave after a year knowing that we never fixed that problem and go somewhere else. The owner doesn't realize whether they left to go to Dallas for a job or to another property or whatever else, but they feel over time that there's more turnover than there should be. And so over the course of multiple years, they're losing income. Whereas if we just had better relationships with plumbers, we'd be able to get the plumber out to fix that very tiny issue. If you have bad vendor relationships, the plumber won't go out because he's got a $6,000 replumb to do, and he's got a $1,800 hot water tank to do, and all this other stuff. He won't go out for the $110 job or the $60 job, or worse, he charges you $200 for a $60 job. When you have the great vendors, your owners just feel that the service is better without really knowing why. They can't put their finger on it, but things are just better. They can't put their finger on it, but the fact that cleaning was done right means that tenants pay on time, more likely to pay on time, and they don't have emails from us saying, hey, we're starting an eviction process because the tenant hasn't paid, and you'll hear from us in 2 days or 10 days or 15 days based on how the eviction went. So it's just like a feeling that if we do everything right and utilize vendors like Classic Cleaning that take pride in what they do, clean it like your mom was coming, so to speak, they'll just be happier long-term with our service. And it's one of these je ne sais quoi, right? That an owner just feels a little bit better about the management service that is being provided.
Absolutely.
Tell me, very, very tactically for all your competitors out there, is it better to send an individual cleaner to do the job or a team of people, 2, 3, 4 people to do a job, in a quicker amount of time?
It depends on the size of the property. Typically, anything that's 2,000, 2,400 or under, I'll send one.
Mm-hmm.
If it starts to get bigger, start to add people. We did an 8,000, and there were like 4 of us.
Wow.
Did a 4,900, there were 3 of us. I mean, it just, and even well, that was a post construction clean, and that was 7 hours with 3 people. So that was 21 labor hours to knock out 4,900 square feet. And that was huffing. I mean, that was moving it. It just depends. I mean, for the business owners out there, you just got to look at what is going to make your team member happy, because if you give them too little, they're not happy. But if you give them too much, you burn them out.
Yeah.
But then there's the tricky part about making sure that you're teaming up the right people so that you don't have somebody feels like they're carrying all the burden. And why am I getting paid the same as this person? And all they do is do blinds, and I'm over here having to do all of this. So it's a nonstop shell game of trying to figure out what is the best match. So I don't know that there's a definitive answer. I think that most of the people, and I'm friends with a lot of people in the cleaning industry. I think if you were to set us all down, we would all agree we're pretty much making this stuff up as we go.
Yeah.
Because you never know. Each property is different. Each property owner is different. Each commercial client, each property management company, each employee. I mean, you just never know. So you got to be extremely, extremely flexible. But I'd say 2,000 or under, typically one person can handle it in 5 hours or less. You want to keep them busy. You want to give them good pay, but you don't want to send somebody out for a 1-hour job.
Yep. Yep. Now that you've been in the business since 2019, I guess you bought the business at the end of 2019. Is that right?
Yep.
Now that you've been in the business for nearly 4 years, what advice do you have for other entrepreneurs that are making it or faking it until they make it, that are making it up as they go along? What have you learned from owning a business that you'd share with others to make their journey easier?
Just keep going. Be persistent. There's an old story that I love. He wrote a book about it. It was called 3 Feet from Gold. As a gentleman during the gold rush days, said, I'm going to go find gold, and heads west and borrows money from all his friends and family and buys the equipment, and he starts mining, and he's finding gold, and he's digging gold, and he's digging gold. And he ends up like running, and the vein goes dry. He's paid off all the family. He's paid off everybody that borrowed money from, but now he's not making any money. And he's digging and he's digging, and he gets really, really frustrated. And he says, well, this isn't going to work. And he sells all of his stuff for pennies on the dollar to some guy who knew nothing about mining. But the guy's like, I know a geologist. And so he sells all his stuff and he goes back home. The guy buys it, calls in a geologist. They angle the drilling a little bit. And 3 feet later, they found the richest gold vein in the history of the United States.
Wow.
One of the things I wear this, and there's no way you can see it, but this coin is an actual coin off the Atocha, the Spanish ship that sunk in 1641 off the Spanish Keys. And I wear it because it reminds me, and this is for the business owners out there, this guy, and Melvin something, I forget his last name, but he spent 30 years looking for this treasure. 30 years. Gave up.
Wow.
One of his comrades goes over to Spain, happens to go into a library, starts looking, and realized that the translation that they were using for keys was wrong. And there's two sets of Florida keys. He finds a translation from Spain, realizes they're on the wrong one, notifies Melvin. They go to the different set of keys and find the largest sunken treasure also in the history of the United States. So I have this one to remind. It was a gift from my parents, but I wear it as a reminder. One, even 30 years into it, the guy still finally made it. And two, surround yourself with important people, because when he gave up, there was somebody else who still had it churning in the back of their head and found the answer he was looking for. So don't be afraid to surround yourself with people who may know more than you or figure out more than you, because in the end, one way or another, whatever that treasure looks like for you, you'll end up finding.
Wow, that's an amazing story. The treasure was scattered over 50 miles.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What a crazy story.
Yeah.
Any other parting thoughts or little bits of wisdom that you can share?
No, I just say anybody listening to this that has gone into business or is thinking about going into business, I celebrate your courage, because being an entrepreneur, says I'm willing to work 80 hours a week for myself so I don't have to work 40 hours a week for someone else.
I love it. Rob Boyd's been in the cleaning industry for 20 years, from director of operations for the world's largest cleaning franchise to overseeing the cleaning of a major university. That was TU, right? I mean, not supposed to
Yes,
say
sir.
that. TU.
Yep.
He's done 4 major health clubs, but he decided in 2019 to purchase a small cleaning company. He's taken that from commercial only to commercial and residential, doing a ton of our stuff with Keyrenter. So, Rob, we appreciate you being on the show, and we appreciate you being one of our trusted vendors.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Same Day Podcast. Tune in to a new show each week and be sure to subscribe to get future episodes.